Welcome back to another edition of the Black Shoe Diaries YouTube show. As always, your host, Patrick Curlin. I'm joined by the great and wonderful Tim Aiden and Jarrett Slanina. Fellas, an eventful couple days in the Penn State sphere, I would say, right? Penn State loses to Oregon. I had my show last night with Zach here on the BSC YouTube channel, Zach Zako from Locked On Nittany Lions. If you haven't checked that out, please check that out. We're going to talk a little bit about Oregon tonight. We're mostly going to try to keep this UCLA focused, and we'll talk about the Tony Rojas injury that popped up as well. But before we get into Tony Rojas, before we get into UCLA, I do just want to open the floor 5 to 8 minutes maybe of Oregon talk. Tim, you went on right after the game, and I know how difficult those can be to get on there, have to talk about things, and your mind kind of changes as you go through it, as you get farther away from the day. So general thoughts on where the program is at, what it means against Oregon, just your takeaways from that game.
Well, I think the general overall takeaway is they're still stuck in the mud. The mud just being that, you're a pretty good program. You can typically win like 10, sometimes even 11 games in the season. But, in your biggest games on the schedule, especially if it's some top 10 team or a big name like an Ohio State, Oregon, what have you, still just coming up short. But also, man, I don't think I touched on this, but man, did Oregon get some lucky bounces that night. I mean, I keep thinking about, I think the play where A.J. Harris looked like he was going to haul in an interception because the Oregon receiver couldn't get a hold of it, but then A.J. has to bounce off his hands, and then it ends up back in the hands of the Oregon receiver. And that was kind of early in the game, and it just had me thinking oh, so it's going to be one of those nights for us, huh? And, sure enough, it happened again. Well, I'm going to rehash the whole fumble thing, but of course the overturning of the fumble, it shouldn't have been overturned. And then also in the overtime period, right after Penn State had scored and Oregon needed to score a touchdown to keep the game going. And, wasn't Dante Moore just happened, and they botched the exchange on a handoff, and the ball just fell harmlessly right in front of Moore. So he's just able to fall down on it instead of it, bouncing off to the side where maybe a Penn State player could get a better handle of it, which I don't know how often that would happen. I'm guessing it probably happens more often than not, but just imagine if that bounces towards a Penn State player and they fall on it. I mean, we're all in a different mood. We're singing a different tune. I mean, I don't know if I necessarily be thinking national champs because there was still some red flags regardless, but we'd be doing a lot better than we are right now.
Yeah, sure. Definitely. I think that, I don't know. I have a feeling that a lot of people would be, still be feeling pretty good about that Penn State national championship pick, because sometimes that is, and that's one of the things we talked about, going into the game. It's just getting the monkey off your back, finally picking up the big win. And right, if that ball if it falls, 6 inches to the left and it's Zane Duran or Denai Denison can fall on it instead of Dante Moore, all of a sudden we're saying the offense, the last 3 times they possessed the ball, they scored a touchdown. That's going to be the breakthrough. The defense held in overtime, all these different things. So yeah, it's a tough way to go. Jarrett, you weren't on Saturday night. You obviously didn't do the show last night with me and Zach. What are your thoughts on just everything?
Yeah, it just, just sticking with the game and my reaction, it feels a lot like, when we grew up prior to the streaming era and we would watch the same 8, VHS DVDs over and over and over again. It just seems like every time Penn State gets a big opportunity like this is the same issue. A close loss, tepid performance by the offense, great performance by the defense, but the opponent just always makes that one extra play that they need to make. They get that one extra break that Penn State doesn't get. And, it's not, to Penn State's credit, it's not a lack of effort. It's not a lack of preparation. It's not like the coaches are calling an incredibly conservative game and not taking chances. It's just it just always somehow comes down to, the opponent making one additional play and getting that one additional break. Tim just mentioned several of those breaks Oregon got that, easily could have went the other way. That's the one thing that kind of has been going on my mind is that near fumble on the botched exchange in overtime. But like Tim said, that hits the ground like it typically would probably in most scenarios, and Alonzo Ford or someone pounces on it, then like you said, we're totally singing a different tune, and maybe we're talking team of destiny and how resilient this team is, and they got this huge monkey off their back. So, but it's the same thing we've seen over and over again, and it's just hard to believe Penn State's going to win one of these games before they actually go out and do it. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the frustrating part. And I know, right, like James Franklin always talks about, like 99% of fan bases would love to be in this position, or programs would love to be in this position. And yeah, I mean, Penn State's won a ton of games, and it is a testament to the program that we go into just about every other game as, 10-point plus favorites, right? I mean, UCLA is like a dreadful team, but right, even when we go to Iowa in a couple of weeks, like my guess is that Penn State's going to be a touchdown plus favorite, if not a double-digit favorite going into that. And that's like, it's good to go into those games being those favorites and expecting to win, but there's something to every single season just kind of ending the same way, where it's like, hey, Penn State, we will beat the teams that we're supposed to beat, but we can just never get over that hump. And that's like the frustrating part of fandom, because, and maybe you guys disagree with me, maybe you don't, but like on the show last night with Zach, I was like, maybe there's not a coach out there that is like better than James Franklin consistently, but like in the same way that when Ed Orgeron won a national title at LSU, it's like when he had the team, he was able to get them up and get them to win those games. So I truly would take an 8-4 season, 9-3 season, 8-4 season, but then boom, you jump up and you win the Big Ten. Then maybe you take another step back, rather than just consistently and always going 10-2 and coming so close in these freaking games and then losing. Am I wrong in my thinking of that?
As a fan, I mean, I'm impressed with their consistency. That the fact that they haven't lost a game that they had no business losing in several years. I mean, that is so hard to do, especially when you're a college football coach and you're coaching, a bunch of 18 to 22-year-olds. I mean, that's just so impressive that they're going to do that. But as a fan, yeah, it gets. What's that?
It says it's been at least 4 years. I'm thinking 2021.
I mean, that's an amazing accomplishment.
It is.
Franklin have so much credit, but as a fan, yeah, it does get a little stale, because I feel like we know pretty much what to expect every single week. They're going to play a Purdue or Minnesota. Not maybe Minnesota's a bad example because they gave us a heck of a game last year. But you play so many of these opponents, and you're going to blow them out the water. You're going to play a solid bowl team, beat them by a couple touchdowns. You play a top 10 team, you're going to lose a close one.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is part of fandom, is like experiencing those highs and like the I don't want to say like the small victories, but right, like I think back to like the Bill O'Brien era, and okay, like they went 8-4, and I realize that's a different time with like the sanctions that were going on and just the stage that Penn State was at, but it was like, you think back to Bill O'Brien, and it was like beating Wisconsin in 2012, and then going on the road and beating I think they were 10-2 Wisconsin team that was going to go to a BCS game and upsetting them, and upsetting Michigan the whiteout. And yes, there were stupid losses to Indiana and stupid losses to Minnesota, but
Ohio.
It's like, and to Ohio. No, exactly. But it's like those things even out if you can at least get the big wins, and that's just something that Franklin has not been really ever been able to do other than 2016. So. Yeah, I mean, that it is what it is at this point, and we'll see what the next couple of weeks are like, and then I guess we'll pick this up again when we go to Ohio State. Jared, I don't know if can you see Tim, because Tim is
completely frozen on my end.
I'm back.
Oh, he's back.
Okay, you just been freezing up here and there, so do you mind if I kick you?
I saw I had a little my screen went black, had a little circle next to my guy. So
do you mind if I kick you and you just rejoin? I just want to see if that will help, because you're kind of still a little. Okay, we'll see if we can get him back. In the meantime, Jared, some news coming out of Penn State tonight was that Tony Rojas is going to be out for the season. Franklin confirmed it, or he has a long-term injury, right? We don't ever say out for the season, but he has a long-term injury that puts his season in major doubt. Obviously, James didn't say a ton about what will happen in Rojas without Rojas, other than, Dom DeLuca, we'll see some more snaps. Keon Wiley, potentially. You have true freshman Alex Tash and Cam Smith that Franklin mentioned. They might get their red shirt burned. Anthony Specca as well. How big of a blow is it for Penn State to lose Tony Rojas? Because although I don't think that, in 2025, I don't think linebacker is as important as it used to be, like back in the days of linebacker U and stuff like that. Rojas has been playing so well. So what does this mean for the Penn State defense to be without, someone who is really turning a corner this year?
Yeah, I mean, we'll learn, exactly how significant the loss is here very soon. It is pretty heartbreaking to see Rojas go through this because last year, he was playing injured. I believe that impacted his play, and he was missing tackles and got a lot of criticism for his performance that may not have been quite just. But, this year comes on fully healthy, and he is just a completely different player. I think we've raved about him pretty much every post-game show. He just really transformed into a difference maker for this defense, along with Amari Campbell. Just been a huge highlight of the first 4 games when we weren't certain what the linebackers would look like compared to the rest of the defense. So, he just really turned a corner, became a difference maker, and it's just really tough to lose him for the season. And they've got some guys who are going to be getting more experience. We've seen DeLuca play a bit. I'm kind of curious, especially with Wiley and Specca, because you heard a lot about them heading the season. We haven't seen too much of them yet. So seeing what they can do, but I don't know if they're going to be able to come in. It's probably very, very likely they'll come and play at the same level as Rojas, but the potential's there. Maybe they can develop and kind of gradually get there. Fortunately, against UCLA and Northwestern next couple games, they should be okay without him, and hopefully gives them some very valuable experience, and they're playing at a higher level here for the home stretch of the season.
Tim, do any of those names kind of specifically stick out to you? I mean, other than, I think, right, DeLuca's, we'll probably see the lion's share, at least over the next couple of weeks, but knowing that, one of Wiley, Specca, Alex Tash, Cam Smith is going to have to at least play a little bit more. And is there any name in there that you kind of would put your money on kind of being, the guy to emerge from that group?
Well, I remember Anthony Specca last year seemed to be seeing his fair share of action, like in garbage time especially. And, I would imagine he's made some strides in the off season. And, this is now he's got an opportunity perhaps to break into the rotation with Rojas out, since DeLuca's next guy up, obviously. But after that, it feels like it's up for grabs. So I'm watching Anthony Specca to see if he can, become that third linebacker.
I'm intrigued by Wiley, and he's a guy that I think that if he didn't have his own injuries that he's dealt with, is somebody who probably would have broken through in if not the 2023 season, the 2024 season. Always just was super impressed. I mean, going back to his high school tape, he was an undersized guy, but really good, especially getting after the passer. So I do wonder if they try to kind of, piece this together where Specca is more your natural standard linebacker. And they can kind of utilize Wiley on blitz packages and stuff like that. So I think we'll see a by committee approach for much of it. But these next couple of weeks will be interesting to see. But yeah, I mean, a big blow. How many other guys defensively? Not to, I guess we'll knock on wood here, but I would say Denai Denison, Zane Durant. Are those the only 2 guys that are probably more valuable at this point than Tony Rojas? I guess maybe there's an argument. Amari Campbell. I think Amari Campbell's been playing really well. Ski Wheatley, AJ Harris, but I feel right, Rojas is probably in that top 5 at least of most impactful defenders. So tough one for Penn State and the defense, especially coming off such a great performance against Oregon. But I got faith in Jim Knowles. So let's talk about UCLA. And by talking about UCLA, I mean mostly just talk about Penn State because, fellas, this team is garbage. UCLA is winless. They have fired their head coach. Their 4 losses are to Utah, UNLV, New Mexico, Northwestern. Like I said, they fired Deshaun Foster after the New Mexico loss. They also just fired their offensive coordinator, Tino Sunseri. Those of you Pittsburgh people will remember that name. They fired Tino Sincera earlier this week. So a program that's still just completely in turmoil and still going through changes. So really no reason for Penn State not to win this game and to win this game big. UCLA has the last ranked scoring defense in the Big Ten and also the last ranked scoring offense in the Big Ten. So I don't want to say this is I mean, UCLA might be worse than some of the teams that Penn State played in non-conference. I think they're certainly on that level. So similar to what we did back then of what do we want to see from Penn State, we're going to spend a ton of time talking about, players on UCLA to watch and stuff like that. This is a game that Penn State should win by at least 4 touchdowns. So let's talk about what we want to see from Penn State and specifically what we want to see from the offense. So Tim, we'll start with you. What do you want to see from Penn State's offense?
Well, I'd like to see Kyron Hudson get it going against his former arch rivals, being the former USC receiver. And he didn't have a single catch against Oregon, if I recall correctly. So, it'd be nice to see him, come up with some big catches. I know he's not like a burner type, but he was supposed to be that solid possession receiver, someone you can go to when you're, in like a third down type situation. You got to move the chains or you're going to punt or face a, difficult fourth down decision. So I'd like to see him ball out against his, the team that his former rivals.
Who do you put, right? Like, and Hudson did have some targets, but other than the Nevada game really hasn't shown out. So where does that blame go to? Does it go to, Drew Aller not having faith in him? Does it come to Andy Kotelnicki not scheming it up? Does it come to Kyron Hudson? Like, why do you think that it hasn't quite clicked for him since the Nevada game?
I don't know. I mean, it's, Drew and him just not able to connect. I don't know if Drew just not being accurate or him not running good enough routes. I mean, I really don't know. But I just like to see him break out, whatever's holding it back.
All right, Jarrett, we'll go to you. Something you want to see from Penn State's offense?
Well, UCLA has done a pretty atrocious job stopping the run. They're giving up almost 240 yards a game on the ground alone. So basically, I want to see Penn State just be able to just run the dang ball all over them throughout the afternoon. It's kind of curious to see if, there are things that can be fixed with this offense. So if they can create some running lanes against a pretty bad run defense, then okay, maybe we can figure some things out against tougher competition. But if they have the same struggles to create running lanes and there's just nowhere for the backs to go and they don't get any push on short yard situations, then we may have to accept the fact that this offensive line just isn't very good and we're going to be in some deep trouble against any defense with the pulse the rest of the way.
What do you want to see from, rotation wise, the running backs? Just because not going into the Oregon game, but in the Oregon game, Nick Singleton got 34 snaps. Katron Allen got 28 snaps. I think that snap share probably surprised some people what we expected. Not that it was going to be, Katron getting 75% of the snaps and Singleton only getting 25%, but I think that most people would have thought, that would lean a little bit more towards Katron. Do you think that we see Penn State kind of start inching their way more towards Katron being that RB1, or do you think it's still close to the 50-50 split that we've seen?
I would hope so. I mean, so far, Katron's clearly the better running back of the two this season. It's been like that since week one, week in, week out. So I don't see any reason why Katron wouldn't be the lead ball carrier. I'm not saying Singleton shouldn't be playing, but yeah, that balance should definitely be in Allen's favor. He was the main running back at the beginning of the game, towards the end of the game, during their fierce comeback and overtime and the 2-minute drill. So it seems like he was getting the more important snaps, but I would imagine overall he's going to start getting more snaps and more carries. it would be great to see Singleton break one or two. We've been saying that for several weeks. Maybe it's just a boost in his confidence. I don't know what the issue is with him. But yeah, I would imagine Allen's the guy that's clearly performing better and deserves and should be the one who's getting more snaps and carries for sure.
No, and that's what Penn State has to juggle with, the same way that, the Villanova game, the FIU game, the Nevada game, of wanting to make sure that the best players are, getting their reps and getting their touches, while also making sure that you're not overworking them. And I don't think that Katron Allen is going to have like a 20 carry day against UCLA. At least, I hope he doesn't. You want to make sure that wear and tear is isn't too heavy on him. But it's a delicate balance between kind of making that switch towards Katron, which I think we might see more of, while also go ahead.
Yeah, I do want to see Singleton. He's been very valuable as a pass catcher. I've had a few nice catches. I think he's the second leading receiver on Saturday.
Yeah.
So I would like to see him continue to be used out of the backfield. The only issue with that is you kind of get in the territory where the offense becomes a little bit too predictable. That Singleton's going to be the guy coming out of the backfield, and Katron's going to be the one who's taking the handoffs and leading the run game. So they're probably still going to try to balance that a little bit just to make themselves not so predictable. But at this point, they're going to try a lot of different things to fix the situation.
Yep, it's either going to happen or it's not going to happen for Singleton. Whether it's against, maybe not Ohio State, but right, whether it's against UCLA or whether it's against Indiana or whether it's against Nebraska, whoever, if Nick Singleton will go off, I kind of think that's the onus is on him at this point, rather than Penn State, kind of force feeding him the ball the way that they did against Villanova. Offensively, what do I want to see against UCLA? I want to see this offense stretch the field, and I feel like I'm starting to repeat myself by saying this because I said it in my random thoughts. I talked about it with Zach yesterday on the show. I feel like one of the issues with Penn State's offense is that it runs the ball to set up the pass. That's really, really good if you can run the ball. It can be difficult at times to run the ball. I don't they were able to run the ball against FIU. They were able to run the ball against Villanova. I have a feeling they're going to be able to run the ball against UCLA. When you play actual good teams that have the Jimmies and the Joes up front, the way that Oregon does, the way that Ohio State does, all of a sudden it becomes more difficult to run the ball, because those guys, they can win those one-on-one battles. They don't necessarily need to bring blitzes to stop runs. They don't need to sell out the same way that other teams do. And then that in turn affects the passing game. I want Andy Kotelnicki to kind of go with more of this idea of we need to pass to set up the run. The same the same way of what we saw kind of in the fourth quarter of all of a sudden, right? Drowler hits Devontae Ross deep, and after that, Penn State starts to find a little bit. I mean, they weren't completely running all over Oregon, but just the threat of, all right, if you guys want to step up and come towards the box, we will stretch the field and we will try to take shots. Just that little bit, not even necessarily connecting, but just showing them that you're gonna try to do it, can all of a sudden open up the offense as a whole, and specifically the running game. So I just want to see them try to take some shots. Again, this feels like Groundhog Day, because I feel like we've had this discussion even going back to I remember Penn State versus Central Michigan in 2022, the Sean Clifford days. And it was Central Michigan was just single high coverage, just one safety back there, and said, "Hey, beat us, try to beat us just by throwing the ball." So we're still here, still doing this whole song and dance. So I just want to see Penn State take some shots, and I want to see them empower Drew Aller. I know that Drew is not exactly the most popular guy at Penn State right now. I feel like a lot of people are completely off that bandwagon, and I get it. I'm not trying to defend him, but I don't want to see this game manager thing of him leaving the UCLA game being 13 of 19 or something like that. Get him reps. He's very much like a rhythm guy. So running the ball on first down and second down, and then getting in third and sixth and expecting him to complete passes, I just don't know if that's the winning recipe. So whatever they've been doing so far to get Drew working is not working. So try something else. So I'd like to see them throw the ball a little bit more on first down, throw the ball a little bit more early down situations, and specifically try to open up the field. You have Drew Aller, who can make all these different throws and has such a strong arm. So start to utilize him. So where are you guys at with Drew? Because we have not talked about Drew. Where are we on a scale? I'll take us back to panic meter like I did with Zach. Scale 1 to 5, 1 being you're not concerned, 5 being complete disaster. Where are you guys with Drew at this point? I'm at a 3 for the record.
Yeah.
So,
I'm about a 4, and it's not so much I think he's like a bad quarterback or terrible quarterback. It's just kind of coming to grips that he is what he is, and he's going to make. And I'll just repeat myself what I've said a few weeks in a row now. But he'll make some amazing NFL level passes, and then he'll follow it up with sometimes just looking absolutely lost. So I think. And I hate to criticize someone for this because it's such an incredibly difficult thing to do, but I think he struggles really reading a defense because, I mean, you watch some of these other younger quarterbacks who have emerged this season in their first year. Like Julian Sand is a great example. Isn't lighting up the field, but man, he is accurate. He's efficient, and he knows how to take what the defense will give him. The defense says we're going to take away this, he's going to go somewhere else. When the defense is going to blitz, he's going to know where the guys won't be and hit a receiver. And obviously, to his credit, it helps having Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate too. But just that mental aspect, I feel like he's got it down. And you see it with some of these other quarterbacks where it's just like. I just kind of feel like it's very easy to kind of confuse Aller to get him to the point where he's not quite confident or sure where to go with the ball, where, you see some guys without nearly his experience level that just feel a lot more comfortable in that regard.
Yeah, I'm with Jared. I probably put it, I was thinking 3 or 4. I'm leaning 4. Just, so I remember someone, I forget who it was in our Slack channel, said that Drew Aller's Anthony Morelli 2.0, and I hate how much that I'm agreeing with that. But Jared said it. I mean, the struggles defense, that was one of Morelli's biggest issues, and also just the whole clutch factor. I mean, outside of the USC game last year, game is on the line. Like you need to score a touchdown or whatever to either win the game, extend the game. Can you trust Drew to get the job done? Not really. You couldn't trust Anthony Morelli to do so either.
And it's wild, too, because Drew's typically, he's been criticized for being too careful with the ball, but then you look at the interception overtime, it's first down. Why would you even think about throwing that ball, putting it in play when Reynolds is completely surrounded? I mean, you throw that ball, if you don't have another look, you throw the ball to bounds and you get to second down and you have 3 more plays to try to get back in the end zone and force another overtime.
Yeah.
So I just, sometimes it's just like, I'm not quite certain like what's going through his head and why he's making.
Just feed it to Katron, if he doesn't get much, then okay, maybe look to sling it on second down. But, the run game was starting to be productive, by that point. So I'd say,
but that type of pass, if it's fourth down and okay, then maybe you throw it up and just so you give someone a prayer of
right. It's a different story.
Jumping up and grabbing that ball. But I mean, in that scenario, there's just no way you're under any circumstances you should be putting that ball in play.
I've seen some people say, right, like it was, you tip your cap to Oregon on that one, like they made a great play. Like I think Oregon was ready for that play. I mean, clearly they literally had 3 guys that were running straight to Luke Reynolds. So good call by Tosh Lapoy, their defensive coordinator, and clearly they were prepared. I think they were the more prepared team. Clearly, even if you take Dylan Thieneman away, like I don't think Luke Reynolds is catching that pass. He gets blown up. Like that's the thing. Like even though he doesn't catch the pass, he got blown up by one Oregon DB. I don't know who it was, but that's even the thing. Even if Oregon played with 10 defenders, you take Dylan Thieneman off the field. There's another Oregon guy there who was trying to pick it off, and then you had another DB that was ready to take Luke Reynolds head off. So just in no circumstances, it just seemed like that is where Drew thought the ball was supposed to go and he was going to go there no matter what, and he got the snap and just immediately threw it in. Just didn't think about it. Like just completely stupid. So yeah, let's he seems like such a confidence driven guy right now. He just does not have any of it. And I don't know if Penn State's going to be able to get that back from like kind of like you said, Tim. Like it does seem very Morelli-esque right now, and you would have hoped that like after the Notre Dame game that like he would have processed all through this throughout the offseason, and it just seems like he.
Yeah, and just a real quick point on Morelli. I remember spending a few years. Was it just 2 years he started?
Mm-hmm.
But I just remember spending a lot of time saying, okay, he's getting there, he's learning, he's got all the tools, he just needs more experience, he's getting there. And then at some point, maybe about this point of his senior year, maybe a little bit further, we're like, oh, he just doesn't have it. And I kind of feel like we are
lost in Michigan.
I think a lot of people are already there with Drew. I'm not certain I'm ready to completely write him off, but it almost feels like it's time to just kind of accept, he has certain limitations, and he's just not going to be this Heisman contender. I think it's safe to say he definitely won't be a Heisman contender this year, but he's just not quite the difference maker quarterback we assumed he would eventually be.
I just wanted to add, I remember Morelli's his first year start was my last year at Penn State, my 5th year there. But I remember I was a big Morelli defender at a time when everyone else was by like maybe his 3rd or 4th game, like, oh, he sucks, he's a bum. And,
I remember just jumping back in the to timestamp this conversation. I remember joining a Facebook group saying something like, it was something titled like "The Real Anthony Morelli has emerged," and it was after the Citrus Bowl win against Tennessee, where he really didn't do all that much. They just kind of escaped with the victory, and he was like, I don't think he threw any interceptions. Was like completed like maybe like 60% of his passes, but we were like, oh man, this is proof he's gonna be a stud next year.
That was more Tony Hunt, and then Tony Davis with the
fumble return for sure.
The only other thing I want to say, sorry, just Drew Aller wise, I think that he's underrated as a runner. And right, like so much of what we talked about in the non-conference was like, oh, you don't want Drew taking those shots, you don't want him running. He is not a good enough quarterback to not run, which, by the way, there are very few quarterbacks in college that you can be like, oh, they don't need to run. At this point, I'm not like 100%. I don't mean this like in a sarcastic way. I don't want him to get hurt. I still think he's the best quarterback on the roster, but you cannot be afraid of him getting hurt. And I'm not saying I want like the Haynes King, like 25 carries and him needing like an ice bath after every single game, but he needs to be utilized as a runner, north-south, not east-west. He's, if you want him running off tackle, I don't know. I think
you just need to add that dimension to the offense.
Yeah.
Just because I think defenses are just having an easy time defending him, just like they did last year because of the limitations. And I think that story's starting to write itself once again. So you kind of just need that dimension to keep defenses on its toes a little bit.
Yeah. If you remember before Penn State's first drive after the first drive of the second half, when they got sort of in field goal territory and they tried to run like that fake toss to Singleton that was blown up by, I think it was Tuioti. If that's just a QB draw, like it's an easy first down. Like because they tried to throw in that toss aspect to it, it allowed the Oregon defender to play both of them, and he was able to tackle Aller, and then Penn State punts. But the middle of the field was open. And then later in the game, the fourth quarter, when it was 3rd and 8, again, what do? They call QB draw. Aller picks up 20 yards. And he's a hoss to take down. I mean, he's 6'5", he's 240. And despite the fact that he looks awkward when he's running, and he's certainly not going to break any tackles, he is always falling forward. Like very rarely does he get like stuffed and get tossed back unless it's by like 3 or 4 guys. Like
he just carries people.
Yeah. So I just use him as I don't want to say like a Tim Tebow type, but at least, on those 2nd and 7s, those 3rd and 4s, like utilize that because he can pick up some yards. So, all right, let's move on to the defense. Jarrett, what are you looking for defensively? And we won't be as long-winded with the defense just because Penn State's defense is, I think conservatively, even without Tony Rojas, still is a top 10 unit in the country. But what would you like to see here?
Yeah, defense has been phenomenal, so there's not too much to pick apart with them. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on the linebacker position, especially with Rojas's absence. How DeLuca looks like getting the bulk of the snaps. I'm my prediction is Wiley and Specca. We'll see them a bit early, although there might be some other guys rotating in. So I just kind of want to see what those guys look like, especially Specca and Wiley, if those are the guys that are getting the snaps. And the thing I'm kind of interested too is how opposing offenses, obviously starting with UCLA, but how do they address that? Do they see this as a weakness? Do they see it as a spot where they can kind of pick on this defense that's pretty stout from top to bottom? So I just want to see, are they going to game plan around this and just how those guys look in relief of Rojas?
Tim, what are you looking for defensively?
Well, been looking at UCLA's offensive stats here, and in addition to being the team's leading passer, Nico Iamaleava is also the team's leading rusher, 44 carries, 204 yards. So he's pretty much almost the entire offense for UCLA. So I just say, I like to see the front four just be able to get after him and, pressure him, get some sacks, force him to make some bad throws that lead to interceptions. I think it's very doable. And it's actually been sacked 9 times already through 4 games. So you do the math. I mean, he's getting sacked over twice a game. So I think there's some great opportunities for Penn State's defense to really rack up the sack totals and, turnovers, tackles for losses.
Question that I saw on Twitter. If you switch Drew Aller and Nico right now, what's Penn State's record?
Still 3-1.
Okay, I think 3-1 as well. I'm not.
Yeah, I'm
not big on Nico.
I saw some people on Twitter saying that Nico is better than Drew. Okay, Nico, they beat Alabama last year. I think that game was wasn't that 14-7? It was kind of on with Tennessee's defense, if I remember correctly. It's not like Nico has exactly come up big in these wins. The problem with Drew is not that he can't win games against the UCLA's of the world. It's everyone else. So, Tim, you still Drew guy?
I mean, I don't think Nico is someone I would trade Drew for. I mean, there's definitely other quarterbacks out there I would trade Drew for, no question, but I don't think Nico's one. He was more of a product of Tennessee's system. I think it's become painfully obvious watching him at UCLA, where he's not surrounded by Tennessee caliber talent.
I mean, it's funny. He's another guy that, coming in was kind of billed as this pro style, big arm, can make all the throws, but he's someone that, and Tennessee was starting to do this more with him. And like you said, Tim, he's UCLA's leading rusher. He's a guy that has to depend on his legs a little bit more as well. So yeah, funny how that all works out. But no, I would still rather Drew Aller much more than Nico for the record. So defensively, what I want to see, really keep this simple and basic. And I might've had this as what I wanted to see against FIU, if I remember correctly. I want to see more of Chaz Coleman, more of Jalen Harvey. Penn State rightfully basically played denied Dennis Sun the whole game. We saw a ton of Zariah Fisher as well. I think just from making sure that those guys don't get too, worn down. You don't want to have a game where they're seeing, 60% of the snaps again. So want to see more Chaz Coleman and Jalen Harvey for the benefit of denied Dennis Sun and Zariah Fisher, but also just because not that I had question marks about Penn State's pass rush. I mean, they were not, as good as I think we thought they were going to be against Oregon. But I do think that when you look at the upside of this Penn State defense and the pass rush, guys like Chaz Coleman, guys like Jalen Harvey, those are 2 guys who could, I think, take it to a different level. And I even think back, it wasn't a pass play, but it was it might have been a counter, it might have been, they had a guard pulling on a run play. Jalen Harvey was so quick off the snap. He was there before the offensive guard could get there, a chip on him, and he just completely overran the play, and the running back gained 2 yards instead of losing 4 or 5. So that's the thing. Him, Chaz Coleman, super talented. They flash this, crazy upside. Just need to start finishing plays, and I think playing against the likes of UCLA and Northwestern as well, getting them more reps is what will help. So that is what I'm looking for. Let's get these young guys out there. And let's get them some reps. So Score predictions. Last time I checked, Penn State was a 28.5-point favorite. I don't know if that has changed. I'll look it up while I throw it to you guys. But
it was 24.5. I actually just happened to check.
24.5?
Yeah, it's moved down. I had 28.5 in the game preview, and I said I better double check this before. So yeah, it's gone down 4 points.
Dude, I don't bet on Penn State very well. I mean, Tim, I'll send it to you first. I'll save my thoughts for my score prediction. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, this one. I mean, this kind of has all the makings of a game where, because of the cross country travel and, coming off an emotional loss in a whiteout against Oregon and, playing just an awful UCLA team. Let's be frank. I just see it's one of those games. I see that Penn State is kind of sleepwalking in the first half, and they're only up 10-3 at halftime. People were losing their minds on the message boards and then the in-game threads on BSD. But then they, come out second half and, and end up annihilating them in the end, or annihilating them enough, I guess. I have 34-10 as my final prediction. I'll say UCLA gets a garbage time touchdown again like they did last year.
Jarrett?
Yeah, I actually had this game circled as a huge trap game heading this season because, I mean, UCLA was 5-7. They overachieved to go 5-7 last year, played incredibly hard. So I'm really been surprised to see the wheels kind of come off the way they did. So I'm not too concerned about Penn State dropping this game, but I'm with Tim, making that cross-country trip after such an emotionally charged game. Win or lose that game, it's tough to kind of, get back to business and focus. And, so I'm with Tim, though. I'm expecting a slow start from the offense. Unfortunately, I'm thinking like 7-0 at halftime. I'll go 24-7 as my final.
Wow.
Yeah. What's that?
Wow. Just
I'll go 24-7. Maybe I'll go 30-31 if you want to throw in a pick six in there. But I'm thinking a pretty lethargic effort from offense in the first half and get a couple drives going in the second half to pull ahead. But I'm not expecting any fireworks.
Oh yeah, I perhaps I'm just the biggest gulliblest idiot in the world, but I actually think that Penn State comes out. They generally do play pretty well after they lose big games. Usually that comes at home. So like the Minnesota whiteout back in the day, I say back in the day, in 2022, they won big. Their only game that they really struggled was when Indiana and Tom Allen almost upset them. But that's really the only game after a Michigan or Ohio State loss that they have really struggled in. Couple seasons ago, they went to Indiana after losing to Ohio State in 2022, and they beat them 45-14, and it was a dominant. And that doesn't 45-14 was closer. The score sounds closer than it actually was. I just think this UCLA team is really, really dreadful. So I have Penn State winning 45-10, and that's not even so much I'm not me predicting Penn State to win 45-10 against UCLA is not a Penn State thing as much as it's just I think UCLA is that bad. I don't necessarily think this puts Penn State back on track per se or necessarily changes anything about the rest of the season. I just kind of think that Penn State is significantly better. And I don't know. I think that they're still really good. I still think that they're a top 10 team, and I think that they'll be okay. So I know Franklin tonight said after practice that this is a good time to get away, and I would be in agreement. I almost don't mind that this will be in an empty Rose Bowl stadium that will probably, very well could have more Penn State fans than UCLA fans, right? So give me Penn State 45-10.
That's a good point about the it seems like a good week to travel for a trip to get out of Happy Valley, because I can only imagine if what Tim and I said does become true and the offense gets off to a really slow start, has a couple 3-and-outs, the Beaver Stadium will not be will not be pleased, and they'll be rating down boos, and who knows what that would do for this offensive psyche.
Although, Jared, I think it's going to be at least half Penn State fans.
Yeah, that's true. We still might hear bookies coming out of the Rose Bowl.
Yeah. We'll see. Okay, so Tim, I guess you do not have them covering if you have 30. You said 34-10, right?
Yeah, I guess I just have them missing.
You're right on it. Yeah. Jarrett, you also don't have Penn State covering, and I do. So we'll see. That is not part of our picks, though. So we'll get into our national picks. I don't know if you guys have seen the slate for the Saturday. And I say you guys to Tim, I say you guys to Jared, I say you guys and gals to everyone who is watching this. If you have anything else to do on Saturday and you need to throw away a college football Saturday, this is the one. You can
and to add insult to injury, any game besides Penn State that I'm remotely interested in, they're all at 3:30. Yeah. So you just can't win.
Yeah. So I would, if it's you want to go apple picking, you want to go to a pumpkin patch, you want to go to the park, Tim or Tim or not Tim. Oh my gosh, host of Solid Burble. Why can't I think of his name?
Ty Hildebrand.
Thank you, Ty Hildebrand, as he always says. Go see cats. Go see cats. All right, go see a.
She's rocking the Solid Verbal shirt tonight. So.
Shout out Ty. Sorry, I can't believe Tim Aiden, Ty Hildebrand. Go see cats. Go see cats this Saturday because it is not a great Saturday slate. So, first one we're gonna do, which just before we get to the first one, just throw out our records. Jarrett, you're 3-6. Tim leads the way at 4-5, and I was 3-0. I was 3-0 last week. So finally on the scoreboard, I am 3-6 as well. So. None of us are good at this. It turns out none of us are very good.
You're making your furious comeback now, it's fourth quarter against Oregon.
Yeah, no more Mr. Nice Guy here. So 3 games. We're going to start with Vanderbilt at Alabama. Vanderbilt obviously won this one last year with Diego Pavia. He's back going to Alabama. Some shades of, Johnny Manziel. Who do we have in this one? Bama is a 10.5-point favorite at home.
I've got Bama in this one, actually. I know that's kind of a big number, 10.5, but also I'm just thinking more revenge factor here for Bama. They haven't forgotten what Diego Pavia and the Commodores did to them last year. And, when I think they were the number 1 team in the country at the time, or they were like a top 5 team, but they were ranked pretty high. And
I think they were 1 or 2 because they
were number 1.
Yeah,
I think they were they were up. Yeah, but anyway, they got upset by Vanderbilt, and ultimately they lost a couple more times, and that kept them out of the playoffs. So definitely a revenge factor going on here. Just based on that, I'm thinking Bama covers.
Jared?
I am reluctantly taking Vanderbilt here. I'm kind of worried I'm going to greatly regret this, Saturday evening when the game's all finished up. But, Diego's been pretty phenomenal for Vandy. Really been performing one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. And just from watching them this year, it seems like I think they're legitimately a good team. I'm not saying they're going to win the SEC or necessarily make the playoffs or anything like that. But I just feel like they've really done a great job building that roster, becoming better along the lines of scrimmage. And Alabama, I don't know if Ty Simpson's been really impressive. He's really come a long ways in the first few weeks. But I'm not certain if they have the offense that's really just going to, blow out good teams this year. So I'll take Vanderbilt, losing a 1-possession game, but I'll definitely take Vanderbilt in the 10.5.
My immediate instinct, and keep in mind that Alabama is my national title pick this year, and going on the road and beating Georgia was just massive for that. But my immediate instinct was Alabama, and it was way too immediate of an instinct, so I'm going with Vanderbilt plus 10.5. I saw on Twitter that little stat that maybe is important to this game so far. Alabama is 0-1 when the quarterback of an opposing team has thrown some shade at them in the offseason, them losing to Florida State and Castellanos. So same thing with Vanderbilt and Diego Pavia. 10.5, just right. If it was 9.5, maybe I feel more confident with Bama, but give me Vanderbilt in the 10.5. We then go to the ACC to display just how crappy this week is. This is arguably I would say one of the more intriguing games. A now ranked Virginia, number 24 ranked Virginia, goes to Louisville fresh off the Cavs, fresh off their big win over Florida State. Louisville is a 6.5-point favorite at home. Jared, we'll start with you on this one. Who do you got?
I'll take Louisville and give the points. I honestly haven't seen too much of them this season. From what I haven't been, blown away or anything. They're a solid team, but I don't think they're gonna, they don't have. I don't think they have a chance of winning the ACC or even really making the championship game. Even though there's really not a solid second team behind Miami right now. But either way, yeah. Virginia was impressive. They had that really fun, wild victory against Florida State in double overtime last weekend on Friday night to kick off the weekend. But I just have a feeling after that, they're just not going to, play with any type of consistency. You see that a lot of times when teams come off an emotional victory, and especially in an upset fashion, and the next week they just can't follow up and play at that level again. So I think Virginia's going to struggle a bit, and I'll go ahead and take Louisville winning by at least 6.5.
Yeah, I'm with Jared. I'm also taking Louisville. And similar reasoning, I've seen a lot of times teams that pull out these emotional upset wins, they follow it up next week with just a lethargic or, subpar performance. They're not able to live up to what they were able to do the week before when they pulled the upset. And I was impressed with how Louisville, they rallied they were down 27-17 at the half to Pitt. I mean, they were just getting shredded by the Panthers, but then they shut them out in the second half, like 17-0, and ended up beating them by a touchdown. They got Miller Moss at quarterback, who we're familiar with, at USC last year. He's slinging it around for Jeff Brom, who last I checked has a pulse. So give me the Cards to cover.
That's a great callback. I'm also going to go with Louisville as well, as you guys have mentioned. Just the emotional letdown and going to Louisville. Louisville's a low-key pretty tough place to play, good fan base. So they'll be a little bit fired up for this one. And Tim, like you said, sells the polls. Let's go play football. So give me Louisville as well. I love Jeff Brom.
Just look up Jeff Brom XFL on YouTube sometime if you don't get the joke.
When I used to do the Big Ten rankings on BSD was when his first year at Purdue, and they actually weren't that bad. I think they're probably like 4-8 or 5-7 or something like that. Like they were competitive comparatively to what they were the previous season. But I would just never say anything. Like I wouldn't actually write a blurb. I would just post that video of Jeff Brom. So that I haven't talked about that in a while. I'm just laughing about it. But
it's a classic.
Anyway, probably the most intriguing game of the day. No offense to Vanderbilt, Bama. I do think that this is actually the best game. Miami goes to Florida State. Once again, Florida State coming off a loss on the road to Virginia Friday night. Miami comes in. Everyone expects them as the ACC favorite. So Florida State, despite being at home, is a 4.5-point home dog. Jared, we'll start with you on this one as well. Who do you have in this game?
I'm going to go with Miami. I'm a believer in the Hurricanes this year, which I'm surprised at myself that I'm actually saying this because beginning of the season, I just remember thinking they do not belong. They were the 10th ranked team. I didn't think they belonged there. I was expecting them. Honestly, that Sunday night game against Notre Dame, I remember thinking I'll probably watch the first half and go find something else to do because I just thought Notre Dame was just going to out physical them and make it pretty one-sided. But Miami's just done an amazing job, both lines of scrimmage, just developing those from a season ago when they were just really, really poor there. They kind of depended on Cam Ward and then their playmakers in the perimeter. So, you have a good offensive line, good defensive line. You're physical, that travels very well. Florida State, I'm not certain what to make of the loss to Virginia. Is Virginia a decent team? Was Florida State just overlooking them? Is it just the case of Florida State kind of being inconsistent like they have been from year to year? Outside the 1 year they went 13-0 and got robbed of the playoff berth. So I feel much stronger that Miami is just the more consistent, overall better team, especially with Carson Beck at the helm, who's been, unlike Drew, unfortunately, he's been the guy that came with a lot of experience, and just when you watch him, you really see that he's got a great understanding, great feel for the game, and he's been doing this for a few years now. So I'm going Miami all the way.
I'm also taking the Canes in this one. This is the furthest thing from a get-right game for Florida State, coming off that upset loss to UVA. Same reasons. I just love Miami in the trenches, and their defense in general has been pretty stout and ferocious. The most points they've given up was 24 to Notre Dame in the season opener. And since then, they've given up 3 points, Bethune-Cookman, 12 to USF, and then 7 to Florida. I mean, I know, granted, none of those teams are known for offenses that light the world on fire, but still pretty impressive if you ask me. But yeah, I think I just think that defense is going to be too much for Florida State, and Carson Beck's done pretty well, and I think they've got enough on offense. They're not like overly impressive offensively, but they've got enough there to I think they can win this by a couple touchdowns.
I'm going to Florida State. A couple reasons for that. One is home game. Two, I like that they were coming off a loss. I think that actually helps them in a way. Thirdly, Mario Cristobal, kind of a loser. People forget, not very good when it comes to getting over the hump. Very James Franklin-esque. I was trying to look up during all this, and this is Google AI, which is you never know what you're going to get from it. So
they did beat Notre Dame, so got to get.
Hold on, just wait a second. James Franklin's record against AP top 25 teams is 16-28 during his time at Penn State. That's a 36.4% winning percentage. Mario Cristobal's, now it was 8-18, now it's 9-18. So that's, I believe, still under 36%. I think that'd be 33%. I think 9-18 would be. So he's, credit to him for beating Notre Dame. He tried his best to choke that one away, though, by turtling up and just trying to run the clock out. So I like Florida State here. It just feels like Miami's getting too much good pub, and going to Florida State, tough place to play. Night game, those fans will be fired up, especially coming off a loss. And I don't know. I just feel like if Miami has a 3-point lead in the fourth quarter and you give Mario Cristobal a chance, he will choke it away. So maybe I'm just mad that my team is stuck with James Franklin as head coach and losing these games, and now I'm going to try to make sure that Miami joins us. But that is my pick. Give me Florida State plus 4.5. All right. I think that's all we got, fellas. I haven't asked, so I'm going to ask at the end of the show. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you don't know what that is, we'll have good news for you. You're probably listening to it or watching it right now, unless you're listening just listening on Spotify or Apple. So please subscribe. Helps us out a ton. We were at 248 subscribers last time I checked. If we don't get to 250 subscribers, we're not coming on and doing a post-game show. So get us to 250. Otherwise, we will stop. We're gonna stop what we're doing, and we're going to I don't know what we're going to do, but we're not going to do a post-game show. Get us to 250. I demand it, please.
And those of you listening on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you listen to podcasts, the YouTube channel name is Black Shoe Diaries PSU. It's all one word. You can look that up on YouTube. And of course, blackshoediaries.com. You can find Pat, Jared, myself's writings weekly on there. So, and also just, again, there are tons of Penn State podcasts, YouTube shows out there. So we appreciate all of you who are either watching it, the three of you watching us live at the moment, or you're watching this the next day, or whatever. Or of course for the post games as well. We appreciate the viewership. There's so many other options out there, and the fact you're choosing to watch, listen to us. So, we don't take that for granted. So
yes, I agree. Yeah. Thank you to everyone who watches. And by the way, if you are listening on Apple or Spotify, give us a 5-star review. Helps us out a ton as well. And just cool to get that type of feedback. So yes, appreciate everyone who has subscribed and who likes videos and does all that stuff and just listens to us. So yes, we appreciate all that. All right. We'll be back no matter what, but let's get to 250 subscribers. I want 250 before Saturday. So we will see you then. It's a 3:30 kick for Penn State, so we'll be on probably sometime around 6:45, 7 o'clock or so. So we will see you 5 to 10 minutes after the game, and hopefully it'll be a cheery post game show after Penn State wins big. So we will see you guys then.